right, welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches podcast where we talk about everything going on in sports. And we have a lot of college basketball, we have a little pro basketball, and we've got a lot of football moves things have kind of started to settle down with free agency, and we're gearing up towards the draft. So I would like to start with college basketball, and I would like to start with women's college basketball because the bracket came out. And the two teams that people have been talking about since last year that had everybody talking during the tournament was LSU and Iowa. And what did they do when they came up with the brackets? They put LSU and Iowa in the same bracket. So two of the more popular teams, at least top 5, if not top 3 in women's college basketball, will not have an opportunity to play each other in the Final Four or in the championship. I think that is a huge L for women's basketball. Would like your opinion, Brother Bill. I'm going to start with you on LSU and Iowa being in the same bracket in the women's tournament.
Well, I think if you look at where the interest has gone in women's college basketball over the last couple of years, it's definitely gone up. So I'm wondering if the thinking was to keep that same interest early in the tournament for that particular region to see who gets out of that region. I mean, that's one logic, one train of thought. The other is to see whoever comes out of that region, knowing that South Carolina, who is the new, UConn of women's basketball. Remember when UConn had that run where they were winning championship after championship? If South Carolina going in perfect record, playing them in either the championship or the Final Four. I mean, those are the only two scenarios I could see where the selection committee said, let's, put them in the same bracket. I mean, it would have made more sense if they were at least in opposite brackets so they meet in the Final Four. But knowing that, I think South Carolina, as you go further in the tournament, is going to get attention just because of their record. They won it before, I could see, and trying to get the early interest in women's basketball early in the tournament.
Brother James, thoughts on the women's bracket?
Well, I wanted to agree with Bill, but I'm not. So I'm gonna go straight over to the left. I think that South pay a little bit more money to keep one of them teams out of their bracket. So that's why they put them in the same bracket. So they could beat each other, and then South Carolina go ahead and do their thing. No, just kidding. I do agree with what Brother Bill said, because it doesn't have any logic to put those two teams. I mean, because they're headliners, to put those two headliner teams in the same bracket, unless you're trying to build up some publicity in the beginning of the tournament versus the final.
All right, so we're kind of 3 for 3 in agreement. Deacon Hill, bring us home.
Well, James, you're getting very smart, bro, by not agreeing with Bill. So I love that. But you flip back and kind of agree with him. But yeah, at least you started out not agreeing with him. So that's a smart move. But anyway, I was watching my second favorite First Take, and the woman's commentator, she gave her the take on how they actually came up with that. And it's called the NCAA AA rule. They have a rule, and it's called for bracket integrity. And the rule, I wrote it down, that two top 4 teams from the same conference can't be in the same bracket. So LSU and South Carolina, they're both top 4 teams, and they're in the same conference, so they can't be in the same bracket in the tournament. So they had to move LSU. And LSU was not strong enough. They'd have a strong enough schedule to be a number 2 seed, so they couldn't go to a different bracket and be a 2 seed in that bracket. So they're a number 3 seed. And then she explained it as what they do is it's like painting by the numbers. It's all covered. The board is covered. And as they do this, their how they make their brackets, then they pull away the numbers, and that's the team that's under that number. So, it's not set up the way we thought it was. They're trying to get, this. That's just the way it shook out, because of those teams couldn't be in the same bracket. And LSU didn't have a strong enough a record to be a number 2 seed. So that's how it fell out. They just fell into the bracket with Iowa, and Iowa is a number 2 seed overall, but they're number 1 in that bracket, and LSU is number 3 in that bracket. So that's how it shook out to be that way.
Man, that's too bad. Too
See,
bad it couldn't be like
that's that Raider knowledge right there. Yeah.
That's
So,
just how it shook out.
Hey, Brother Hill, what was that multi-syllabic words you used? What was that bracket? What?
Integrity.
What school did you learn that at? That's pretty good.
It wasn't yours. You can believe that.
It's a school that them Niner fans should have went to.
Don't know anything about.
Bracket intake, 2 syllables, 4 syllables. Man, you all right?
It's too bad they couldn't.
had to pair them up that way. That's how it shook out.
It's too bad they couldn't take it, because if you look, I mean, LSU, whatever their record is, they're a stacked team. I mean, they brought almost everybody back from last year, and then they added the transfers. It's like, it's too bad it couldn't be kind of like they did with college football. Like when FSU was going into that final, their record and stuff was good, but you just knew because of the team that they're a better team than even their record was. It's too bad they couldn't get like a little bump because of that. But at least nobody got paid off. At least it was the bracket integrity. But it sucks that you're not going to have these 2 powerhouses face each other. I mean, like one of those 2 teams is not going to be in the Final Four, and that's a huge loss for the tournament, because like South Carolina has a lot of attention.
Joe, look, that'll be good for that bracket when they meet in that bracket against each other. It's going to be good.
That game will be good, and then it'll be a letdown when we get to the Final Four, the finals. All right, moving from college basketball to football, there was a big moves for one team, and then there was 0 moves for another team. So I want to kind of get into both of those. One of them is Pittsburgh. And what it sounds like, and I can't understand what in the world happened with the whole Justin Fields thing. I thought they were asking too much for Fields, which is why nobody was bidding for him, because he was going there. Teams were taking players. I'm like, why wouldn't you get Justin Fields? They must be asking too much. And I don't know if they lowered their asking because all these spots were filled, and then they're stuck with this quarterback that they don't want anymore, and then they just dropped the price. But Fields theoretically chose Pittsburgh, and then Russ chose Pittsburgh also. If I'm an offensive guy, I don't know why you would go to a team run by a defensive coach. I don't think their offensive coordinator is special. He didn't impress me in Tennessee. He really didn't impress me in Atlanta, and I don't get it. On top of it being just a absolute monster of a division, as far as offenses also. So did Russ and Justin Fields, in your opinion, did they make the right choice going to Pittsburgh? Deacon Hill, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I think I would say yes, and I was starting with Russ because, of course, Russ was there before Justin Fields, so he thought he was going there to be the man. So of course he didn't have that thought process to think about with Justin Fields coming there. So, and you were saying that Pittsburgh is the defense and that or whatever. They felt that they were a quarterback away from being a really competitive team. They had Pickett and all these other quarterbacks. So and they got a decent running game. So Russ think I get over there and I'm the quarterback that can get them over the hump. So he gets there, and then all of a sudden then Justin Fields comes over here. Now you got a whole different situation, a dilemma. The thing is I think that Pittsburgh will start out with Russ. I think it's his job to lose since he's a veteran. More veteran. He would be the job to lose, and then they're looking like long term. If Russ can fill in the gap for a year or 2, then Justin Fields can take over. So I think it's a good situation for both of them. I think the team that blew it all was Chicago. The situation, the way they handled Justin Fields, they should have just held on to him. I was listening to a commentator today how when Dallas had Troy Aikman and Walsh, they had 2 top quarterbacks. They just let it play out, and they end up getting a good draft pick for Walsh down the road. They basically gave Fields away. What, a 6th-round draft pick? They gave him away. So that's just my take.
Brother Bill, thoughts on 2 quarterbacks choosing, or these particular quarterbacks choosing Pittsburgh?
Yeah. If you consider the teams that they were at the time, going to Pittsburgh, in my opinion, is an upgrade because of, I think, 2 things. Despite the fact that that's a tough division, you have a culture in Pittsburgh, and assuming Tomlin is still there, which I think we believe he is, there's something about going to where there's stability in an organization. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are just one of those teams that historically you're not going to have a lot of turmoil and drama, and you have stability in the front office. You know what your coaching staff looks like. If they can fix their offense, they open up because they do have a running game. I agree with Deacon Hill. I just think that they're in a better shape going to a Pittsburgh team than if Fields was still Chicago in a tougher division because you still got Detroit, and I just believe that Green Bay, they're young, but I see them as moving up. And then also, if you look at where Russell Wilson was, he had to get out of Denver. There was nothing good for him, I believe, than being at Denver. Not sure why it didn't work with Sean Payton, but I just think it was an upgrade in their careers for both of them. And it will be a healthy quarterback competition. I mean, yes, I agree with Deacon Hill that it's Russell Wilson's job to lose, but I wouldn't be surprised if they still have to compete for that number one spot come week one.
Brother James, thoughts on the moves to Pittsburgh?
All right, the moves to Pittsburgh. Well, I agree with a little bit of both, but I think Russell Wilson was brought there to see what he can do the next year or two. But I do believe that Pittsburgh is looking for another Big Ben. Okay, and they may see that they may see some of those characteristics maybe in Fields, and so I think that's the reason why they went to grab Fields so they could put the Band-Aid on the offense with Russell Wilson. I mean, and then develop Fields at the same time. Because Russell Wilson probably, being truthfully speaking, may have a year or two left in him, if that. And so I think they betting on that part, and so I think that's why they made those moves to get both of those quarterbacks. And I do believe that Russell Wilson will be the starter to come week one, but I do believe that they're gonna have Fields ready just in case he doesn't want to perform like he should.
Yeah, no. So from a team perspective, I 100% understand why Pittsburgh went and got them. They got them. I mean, they got Russ for nothing. They got Denver's paying like $34 million. They're paying like $1.5 million for him, and they got Fields for 6th-round draft pick. I mean, like nothing. So from their point, 100%. Like I see what Russ. If Russ really is not as great, and then you have this kind of powerhouse kid backing him up that could kind of, I mean, if you can develop and you can kind of develop into anything, and the better the running game you have, which seems to be Arthur Blank's specialty, the better the running game you have, the easier it's going to be on the quarterback. So from their perspective, I totally get it. My thinking with Russ was, so he turned down going to the Giants because they wouldn't guarantee him that he would be the starter. But if I'm Russ, and then maybe it's Russ's ego, maybe that's why Russ is you have all these weird stories that come out about Russ after he leaves teams. Seems to have a huge ego. He wouldn't go to the Giants, even though I think, and I thought Fields should go to the Giants also, because if any coach has developed a player that had a lot of potential but was just a mess when he got him, it's Daboll, the way he did with Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen did not look good until he got with Daboll, and all of a sudden now he's like this guy who's top 2, top 3 MVP candidate every year, even though they haven't turned over the leaf in the playoffs. My thinking, if I'm Fields, please get me to New York. If I'm Russ, get me to New York. Get me to this dude that is obviously great with kind of work in progress quarterbacks, except for Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones sucks, which is funny that the owner made him pay $40 million a year for this guy, and now their whole team looks terrible, which is hilarious. But for Russ, going to a way tougher division in a smaller market, even though Pittsburgh is one of like those blue blood NFL teams, I just don't get it. I thought Russ for sure would want to be in New York, even if it's a quarterback competition. He's playing Dallas, he's playing Philly, like it's a massive division. I figured he would want to be there in a situation where he's more likely to win than going to Pittsburgh in that just absolute gauntlet of the AFC East, because all those teams look tough. every single one of them. It looks like a killer division. Sticking with football, shifting to Dallas. Dallas has done nothing. They've lost starters. They restructured Dak's contract to help the team out, to open up some cap space, and they went from $58 million for a cap hit for Dak to $54 million next year. That's it. So now they have $5.5 million of cap space. Supposedly they're talking about bringing back Zeke. If I'm a Dallas fan and Jerry Jones a month and a half ago or whatever said we're going to be all in next season and this is what we're doing, my head would explode. So, Brother James, I'm going to start with you. If you were a Dallas fan, what would you be thinking about the Dallas's just complete lack of doing anything so far this offseason?
Well, I'll be wondering if they lost their mind. That'd be the first thing. But I really do believe that, Jerry Jones, he's crafty. Okay, so he has something up his sleeve, and so he wouldn't be making this move if he didn't have a plan. He may want to spend that money in the draft. I don't know, but I if I was a Dallas fan, I would be questioning it. But knowing his history, I wouldn't be too worried because I do believe that he don't make decisions without planning.
Okay, so you're kind of just banking that something's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Deacon Hill, if you were a Dallas fan, thoughts on Dallas so far this offseason?
If I'm a Dallas fan, I'd be worried. I wouldn't know what's going on over there with the Cowboys. Like you said, bringing back Zeke. Why would you bring back Zeke?
He had a pretty good average yards per carry last year.
Yeah, but he's going to be another year older, and I think they need a little bit more than what Zeke's going to be able to bring. So I don't know about that move. And far as being all in, I think what he's thinking is he got some free agents to sign. He got CD Lamb coming up. He got to resign. He got his pass rusher. I can't think of his name right now, but those guys got to get paid again. So that's where he's talking about being all in. As far as bringing in anybody, I don't even know where they're drafting in the draft, but where can they go in the draft? I don't know what they're going to do in that, but yeah, I would be pretty worried about Jerry Jones and his son, the two GMs, the two Joneses. I'd be worried about what they're up to if I'm a Dallas fan.
So you think they're just bracing for Dak's contract, Micah Parsons' contract, and CD Lamb's contract?
That's what I think they're trying to angle towards that move.
3 dudes out of the whole. They got 50 other people, and they got 3 dudes. Brother Bill, thoughts if you were a Dallas fan?
If I was a Dallas fan, I would say this might be the first time in a number of years that you won't hear "this is our year" going into the season about winning it all. Because if you look at the NFC, I mean, forget the division. I still believe the NFC East is a 2-team race between the Cowboys and the Eagles. But if you look at the rest of the NFC, there are other teams in the NFC who have just as good a defense as the Cowboys. The defense was the strength of the team, and they were opportunistic when they would get those turnovers. That's why some of those games were blowouts. But the rest of the NFC, it's going to be tough. So if I'm a fan, I'm concerned that the Cowboys better win the division if they're going to try to do anything in the playoffs. Forget trying to win a Super Bowl, just what you can do in the playoffs because they're in a loaded conference. I mean, not being a Cowboy fan, but I can say this objectively, if the plan is to do something in the draft, then that tells me historically, whoever you get in the draft, that person doesn't pan out. And I mean, it takes some time. So if Mr. Jones is looking at trying to get a Super Bowl, while he's still on this side of heaven, that's a short window if you're going to try to do it in the next couple of years.
Yeah, what I will say, they are pretty good at drafting and developing young players. The problem is they hold on to these guys like it's their kids, as opposed to let them go, pull in other. They seem to be really bad at getting the already professional players in the building. But you're right. I mean, the Bears are going to be better. I don't know how much better, but they have a whole bunch of new players, and they're going to get the number one draft pick, so they're going to be better. Minnesota. I don't really know what to make of Minnesota, but they have a good coach, and they're gonna draft somebody. Packers look great. Detroit looks great. Niners are great. Rams will be better. Um,
Did you say Niners are great?
Niners are fantastic. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you saw it. We went to the Super Bowl.
Hey, Greg, who was in the Super Bowl this past season? Which team out of the NFC?
I don't know. I only remember the team that won, Kansas City. I don't know. I don't know.
Sure. That's what he said Sunday. You're right. All right.
Yeah, the Cowboys. It's not getting any easier for the Cowboys, and Philadelphia has to be better than last year because they finished so bad. Luckily, the Giants are absolute just dog poop, and I don't know what they're doing. If I was a Giants fan, if I were a Giants fan or a Panthers fan, my head would be exploding right now because those two teams, they're awful. Shifting to basketball. So I'm looking at the standings. I'm all pumped on Saturday. We beat the Lakers. Here we go. I'm running my mouth at church on Sunday. I'm like, well, we're getting a ring. And then we get our butts kicked like right afterwards. And I have to come on here and just go, I can't. So I'm looking at the standings going, okay, realistically looking at the rest of the games, the chances, playoffs and stuff, like we're at the very bottom of the barrel. But I'm looking at the talent at the bottom of the Western Conference. And it's the Mavericks, Suns, Lakers, and Warriors are the bottom 4 spots. And if there's not just an insane amount of talent just in those 4 teams, and we're at the bottom, I think what's going to happen is you have the teams that haven't won anything before. So you have like the Oklahoma City, who's young and hungry and playing hard and scoring a bunch of points and not defending and all that stuff. And you have the Timberwolves that have supposed to be their year the last 5 years, and they actually seem good now, but injuries are going to mess them up. So I think what's going to happen is this: just everything's going to flip. You're going to get to the playoffs, and all the old guys are going to be like, okay, kids, this is how you do it. This is how you do a 7-game series, and it's going to flip. We were just discussing this for fun before the show started, and people are not all in agreement with that. So, Brother James, I'm going to start with you on this one. I think the old guys are going to kick all the young guys' butts as soon as we get to the playoffs. What do you think? You love OKC. I think OKC is going to take a doo-doo because they don't play defense.
No, I don't love OKC. All I'm saying is, people look at them because they're young and they take them for granted. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they've won so many games is because people are like, oh, they're going to choke, and they hadn't choked yet. Not saying that they won't choke in the playoffs, but they hadn't choked yet. But experience, the playoffs is all about experience. So that's the team that's going to be able to navigate through the playoffs better because of their experience. So yes, the older teams will have the ability to come into the playoffs and change some things around. But the issue is going to be is those, like you said, those bottom 4 teams, they're going to have to do a play-in. So 2 of the 4 teams are not going to make it.
Right. The Lakers are out, and the Mavericks?
No, the Warriors and Phoenix.
All right, Brother Bill, thoughts on the upcoming potential old geezers going in, taking the young guys out?
Yeah. So, well, I think what Brother James said at the end is correct. Of those bottom 4 teams, 2 are going to be out. Which 2 are out? Just have to wait and see. One thing that stands out, though, I said this before, is if you look at the top 3 teams, the top 3 teams are only separated by half a game. OKC, Minnesota, and Denver only separated by half a game. And I still see coming out of the West, unless there's either injury or lightning strikes, I still think it's a Denver Nuggets Invitational in the Western Conference. If you look at the teams who they will have to face in the matchups, there's no one on any of the other teams that has an answer for the Joker. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, he's not just his size, but his basketball IQ. And even if it's an OKC, Ted Holmgren, he weighs what? Maybe 240? It's going to be. I mean, Joker's going to have his way with them. There's talent, there's athleticism, but there's something to be said about matchups and chemistry. And Denver, having just done it, they know how to win a championship. So forget the rest of the league and what happens. With those teams that are veterans. I still say it's the Denver Nuggets conference to lose.
Deacon Hill.
Okay, that wasn't the question about Denver Nuggets. We all know that Denver Nugget is the team to beat coming out of the
I
West.
answered the question, man. He said, "What do you think about the bottom four? Two of them are going to be gone, and it's going to come down to experience." Man, I answered the question. And at the end of the day,
Okay,
the young cats
right.
the young cats are going to make some noise, but it's Denver, man. Come on, how many do I have to write on a chalkboard for you? Come on, man.
You know what, Bill? You're right. I'm going to agree with you, Bill. I'm going to. Yeah, seriously though, yeah, Bill is right on that. These young teams, I think they might make some noise. I'm not going to count them out. I'm a diehard Laker fan, but I am not impressed with my Lakers. They just can't seem to put it together for any consistency. And it's about the same way as the Warriors. The Warriors will come up and play a good game tonight, and you never know what you're going to get the next night. So even in the playoffs, I don't know if they could pull it together in the playoffs either. I know the playoffs is a different season. The game slows down. It's a half court game in the playoffs, so that's where the veteran teams have the advantage because they know how to slow it down and make those younger teams play at their pace. But I ain't going to count those young teams out as far as advancing. But I agree with you, Bill, that it is. I don't see anybody beating Denver.
Yeah, for sure. And I think any of the play-in teams, they're crossing their fingers that Minnesota and OKC stay at the top of the West, so they don't have to play. Because if you're playing Denver the first round, it's not gonna go well. No, I mean the any of those teams, Mavericks, Suns, Lakers, or any of those teams, it's not gonna be good for any of them.
I would say though, before you go to Brother James, watch Sacramento Kings. They showed me something last year that I haven't seen in a while. So I mean, we'll see if they got again the Warriors got them in 7, but it'll be interesting to see the Kings. They have pretty much the same roster. They're well coached. So I'll see how far the Kings can get if they can get all the way to the conference finals.
Well, and the thing that's tough with basketball too is, I mean, like you're saying, there are the 3 seasons in all the different sports, but basketball in particular, there's a switch that goes off where, oh, the teams that really weren't playing defense are playing defense now because it's an effort thing, and if you don't have 45 more games to go, if like this is it, you're gonna play a lot harder. So a lot of these teams, you go, okay, they like to me, Dallas is Dallas because they don't play defense. So Kyrie's going to go off. Kyrie's going to do some crazy left-handed last second something nuts, but they're not going to play defense. Probably OKC, because they're young, there's an opportunity for them to play more defense because it's more of a hustle kind of a thing in the playoffs, and they're young, so they're going to have they're going to have the motor to be able to keep up. I think the Lakers defense is going to be, I think that's probably their best thing that they have going for them in the playoffs, because they have two big dudes that are hard to.
Timeout. You said their defense is the best thing they got going?
No. But no, in the playoffs, because I think because you have Anthony Davis is hard to deal with unless you're Denver.
Yeah, but their on-ball defense with their 2 backcourt guards gets them in a whole lot of trouble. They get beat, the guards get beaten, and everybody got to start rotating, and then they're all out of position. I don't see them doing too well.
Yeah, I don't. And the Warriors, if we play on the road, we're fine. If we have to play home games, we're not good for some reason, which doesn't make any. We used to never lose games at home, and now we're like either below 500 or 500 every. I don't understand that.
They're probably like us. We're sick of them annoying fans. They're
like,
I think the issue with the Warriors is when you go on the road, and you hear this in sports, and I don't know if it plays itself out more I believe it does in basketball more so than football, that when you're on the road, and Brother Hill, I've heard you say this, when you go on the road, it's just you as a team. You don't have fans, so there's more focus when you're on the road because you are the enemy going to hostile territory, so you want to get off to a good start. And my concern with that game last night was, the Knicks had guys who were banged up they had 3 starters out, but Jalen Brunson, he's the head of that snake. And when he got going early, they just had no answer for him. Offensively, then you've got dudes who, hitting threes. I mean, the Warriors' defense on 3-pointer was just horrendous. It's seldom that I see them giving up so many wide open threes just late on rotations. So I just think, I don't know if they thought, oh, it's just New York, they're banged up, we're back at home, celebrating after beating the Lakers. I think it's focus and effort.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I think, and that's the basketball. I think that's the basketball dilemma, is you have the regular season, which, judging by the talent at the bottom of the division, I don't think people don't put much weight into the regular season, and then you just make the playoffs. You go, okay, I'm going to turn it on, then I'm going to play hard then. So to me it's tough to like gauge who like to me the rankings have very little to do with like who's really the best team, number 1 or number 5. I mean, are the Pelicans really that good, or are the other teams just not playing that hard, or the Clippers?
Yeah, I mean, it's seeding just based on your regular season record, but that's not indicative of whether or not you're the best team.
Right.
I mean,
Especially
because
in basketball.
when you get in the playoffs, it's a series. You're playing that same team.
Correct,
It's a series.
exactly.
You get to make adjustments all throughout, and you can see the finish line, like you said earlier. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's why it's a different season.
Yeah, I can't wait for the playoffs, because it's just back and forth. And like I'm fired up. I'm like, oh man, we look good. And the next time I go, we look like crap. What happened?
I love it, Joe. You're a roller coaster.
I am a roller. I know I was man, I was talking so much trash on Sunday, and then just humble pie, right? Boop, there you go. New York. Boop, it's all gone.
To be fair, when Anthony Davis went out, that changed the game, because the Lakers lost not just their rim protector down low, but they also lost someone who, I mean, the Warriors they out rebounded the Lakers, and the Warriors took much better care of the ball. The Warriors' issue with me for a long time has been turnovers. Once they get over 15 turnovers in a game, I'm like, well, I can smell a loss coming. So
yeah, and as soon as that shot clock stopped working, I listened to the Draymond Green show this morning. He's like, all the Lakers, like they like got tight, like their bodies cooled down. So he's like, that was the worst thing that could have happened to the Lakers, was that 20 minutes of trying to figure out how to get a shot clock to work. But so we're running. We got like 30 seconds left. But so a lot of college basketball coming up in this week. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see. I think football is kind of winding down until we get to the draft, but lots of eyes on college basketball. So you guys have a good week. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next Tuesday.
All right.
See you.